Charities are synonymous with nonprofit, but now one entrepreneur says that model should change. Dan Pallotta, founder of AIDS Strides and the Avon Walk for Breast Cancer, has a new book, Uncharitable, How Restraints on Nonprofits Undermine Their Potential. And Dan Pallotta is here. Welcome.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, it really struck me when I was reading through this. You say that nonprofits, charities, they have to play by a different rule, but they are judged by the same measure of success, which is really how much money they make and how much they give to their clients, which is exactly what a business does.
Well, actually, we judge charities with a single question that we need to stop asking, which is, what percentage of my donation goes to the cause? That's the question we've all been trained to ask. And we need to stop asking that question because it gives us really bad information. Say you have Soup Kitchen A and Soup Kitchen B, and Soup Kitchen A says 90 cents on your dollar goes to the cause, and Soup Kitchen B says 70 cents of your dollar goes to the cause. Well, we've all been trained to give to Soup Kitchen A. Yeah. But if you were actually to go and visit the soup kitchen and you found out Soup Kitchen A is serving rancid soup in a dilapidated facility and Soup Kitchen B is serving really hearty, nutritious soup in a state-of-the-art facility, well, now you'd want to give to Soup Kitchen B, and you would never have known that if all you asked is, what percentage of my donation goes to the cause?
But as you know, this whole thing really got started back with that United Way debacle of, gosh, it must have been 20 years ago when the salaries of all those people came forward. And you raised the same question here. We are so uncharitable when it comes to the CEOs and the business developers of these charities. We don't want to pay them. Why?
Well, it comes from an old Puritan ethic, really, that started right here in New England where, you know, the Puritans were capitalists and they wanted to make a lot of money, but they were also Calvinists and taught that they were despicable in the eyes of God and they shouldn't do anything out of self-interest. So charity became a penance for their profit-making tendencies. So how could you make money doing charity if charity was your penance for making money? And you're absolutely right. You know, Business Week did a study. The average Stanford Business School graduate, 10 years out of business school, is making $400,000 a year. The average anti-hunger charity CEO in the United States makes $83,000 a year. There's no way you're going to attract the talent from the nation's top business schools into the nonprofit sector if you're unwilling to pay for the talent. And that's a shame because you are only denying the needy and people with breast cancer and people with AIDS the talents of probably some wonderful people.
You strike the core here, which is that you have to make it a society, a cultural change. For instance, advertising. You say that that's seen as, a big no-no, because if a percentage of the donations go to advertising, somehow that's seen as a waste of money. But the reverse is true. It's like advertising in business. You bring more money in. How do you change the mindset?
Yeah, well, imagine if, by talking about it just like this, imagine if I said to the music industry, you can advertise, but I said to the movie industry, you cannot. Well, we would start buying a lot more music than we would movies simply because we wouldn't know what movies were out there. Well, that's essentially what we've done to charity. We've said we don't want our donations spent on advertising. So we walk out into the world and we're pummeled with billboards and television commercials for iPods and Botox and Budweiser, but there really isn't any advertising out there for charity. And then, you know, we want to say it's an apathetic culture. It's not an apathetic culture. It's a very generous culture. But when you're pummeled all day with messages for iPods instead of Darfur, where do you think your attention and your money's going to go?
Is there another way that some of these charities can really overturn their business model? I mean, I know you've been involved in all the walks, and a lot of these things, not necessarily that one, but a lot of these models have become tired. You know, the auctions. I mean, you want to shoot yourself, you go to one more of those things. Frankly, some of the walks seems to have sort of run their course. Is there another way for these charities to really look at a wide open landscape?
Well, first of all, they have to start to think a lot bigger, and society's obsession with overhead has put charity in a very cautious posture where they're more frightened about overhead than they are actually curing AIDS or curing breast cancer because they know they live or die by what the public thinks about that overhead ratio. So I think if charity started to set breathtaking goals, like if the breast cancer charities got together and said, we are going to find a cure for breast cancer and we're going to do it within 10 years. that would be so exciting to the general public that all kinds of resources would come
Now
their way.
you have touched on the sore subject, which is duplication of effort. And I think a lot of people see that. I mean, there has to be, in this country alone, several thousand breast cancer charities, probably several 100,000.
There are 1.2 million nonprofits in the United States. There are about 97 new nonprofits created a day, and I couldn't agree more. There's no merger and takeover market in the nonprofit sector because it's all about good.
Right.
But there should be, because we're duplicating all kinds of fixed costs. You know, you've got a CEO here, accounting staff here. So
Everybody
I
wants
agree.
a charity in their name or somebody else's name, and it's all, you're right, it's good work, but it's
Yes.
it's redundant.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should build much bigger organizations. But that's part of the problem. The society, when a charity starts to get big, they call it an empire. Well, we have empires for producing computers and empires for producing sports. I think we need some empires for, you know, eradicating breast cancer and hunger.
Right, it's a fascinating book. Uncharitable, Dan Pallotta. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right, and that is it for Greater Boston. Tomorrow night, should the city's nonprofits, like hospitals, contribute more in the form of taxes? That plus Boston TV legend Tom Ellis. Those stories and more tomorrow at 7. I'm Emily Rooney. Good night.